kudos to all of you who invested your time. You are now investing your time to be in this session with us. So to me, you all are superstars. And if we haven't met, my name is Kwan Siegel, and my students call me Coach Kwan. I am originally from Bangkok, Thailand. I just mentioned that earlier, right? And for me, myself, right now, I am a career coach. I'm the founder of ICAWay. I am an experienced human capital consultant with 10 plus years of work experience. Actually, right now, if I'm counting by hands, it's about 15 or 16 years already. And my corporate experience include BMW, Accenture, and Deloitte. When I came here in the US 7 years ago, I experienced all job search barriers that non-American candidates usually experience, like networking, career branding that we didn't know before. We were not aware about, job market situation. So I try myself to adapt to the new culture and the new job search market. And finally, I got a job offer at Deloitte. And from that point on, I volunteered and helping lots of international students and founded ICAWay in 2017. And right now, we also a partner with Bay Atlantic University, coaching your international student through ICAWay Talent Platform. And I hope that I'll be able to share a little bit of my experience with you. And please also share your experience searching for jobs as well, because we want to make this session interactive. Thank you. Gina, I think you're on mute right now.
I am on mute. Thank you. Thank you, Coach Kwan. That was a great introduction. Greatly appreciate it. And my next guest is Ms. Latanya Williams. Ms. Williams, please introduce yourself.
Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Latanya Williams, but Tanya is just fine. I am the founder and lead consultant of Empire Career Development and Business Planning Solutions. I bring more than 30 years of combined experience in administrative support, in office, and talent management. Talent management being the recruiting part of my office management role. The niche audiences that I serve are low and mid-level employment prospects who are seeking first-time employment opportunities, as well as candidates who are looking to change positions or transition from one industry to another, and those who are returning to the workforce after being out of the workforce for a period of time, whether it was pursuing education or raising a family or dealing with illness. But to transition back into the workforce requires a little finessing. My experience includes tenures at Northwestern University, DePaul University. I've worked in the nonprofit as well as the corporate sector. And I specialize in resume writing, cover letters, and mock interviews or practice job interviewing. When I'm not working on interviews and letters and resumes, I conduct research and share information with my clients regarding current job search trends and best practices. And I look forward to sharing all that I can with you guys today in the hopes that you're all encouraged and empowered in your job search. And I just appreciate you, Gina, for your vision on this opportunity to speak and feed the students and even non-students. I see that we had a few people in the chat who are not students, but just the opportunity to come and present and help as much as we can. My dynamic partner today, Kwan, I appreciate all of us coming together to try and bring encouragement to those who are seeking employment or those who just want to know what's going on in the industry, particularly during COVID season. So if you all get something out of this, and I too expect to get fed.
Thank you,
Thank
Tanya.
you so much.
Thank you both. Thank you, Tanya and Kwan. So as you see, you have two amazing experts. I didn't lie. We're gonna move forward. If you aren't talking, please mute yourself. We're getting some feedback. So just for the sake of the content that's gonna be shared, I wanna make sure everyone has an opportunity to hear and ask questions accordingly. So we're gonna go ahead and get started. First question is, how has COVID-19 changed the job search and recruitment process? Kwan, you can take the lead on that, or Tanya.
Absolutely. I can kickstart a little bit. So this is a new normal. Everyone said that, right? We might be tired of that word already. Definitely one thing is we need to adapt to the virtual communication world, and job search and interview process, everything is online, mainly virtual these days. You need to keep putting your best foot forward and keep showing up for that new technology, right? I think we can go into that detail later on, right, Tanya, with the
Yeah.
interviewing process and stuff. So what I want to focus on right now, maybe I would like to talk about the industry that is hiring at this time, because this is one of the key things that you need to know which industries are hiring. Like if you have been very passionate about airlines, hospitality, this is not the time to look for job with those industries. You need to look for who's hiring. Let's say right at this time, all the tech firms, healthcare, right? Technology, healthcare, they are top hiring, and also retail industry. So try your best to adapt your skills to match with the needs of those industry. That is my initial recommendation. Tanya, do you have anything to add?
Absolutely. I just want to add and kind of tag on to what Quan was saying. But I would also recommend that you narrow down a preference and a niche. Don't be all over the place. I'll just do anything and take anything, because the I'll take often leads to discontentment. So tap into what you're good at, what you have a passion for, what your beliefs are, and kind of narrow down preferences and a niche or niche industries that you wouldn't mind working in, and utilize platforms that are at your disposal, such as, go directly to company web pages and utilize LinkedIn and Glassdoor and Indeed, so there are also resources that are in full gear right now, such as placement agencies and temp services and awesome career advisory services like I See a Way, where Quan is for international students, where Quan is the leader. And do your research. Research the companies, and that's what Quan was just talking about, learning who's hiring and for what. But also research and we'll talk about interviews a little bit later, but that's a part of research. When you're researching companies and positions to work in, once you land an interview, you should also research the contacts. So you'll usually get a list or a name of who you're going to meet with, but kind of figure out who that is you're meeting with, because they get a feel for you before they meet with you. So go to Occupational Outlook. That's a great reference for finding out salaries and current hiring trends and just information on industries. And so you can arm yourself with information when you start your job search. So you're just not empty-handed. You have a direction, you have a guide for yourself, so that you can kind of propel yourself forward to where you're trying to go. Okay.
And I would like to add a little bit more, since we are in this virtual world, something that you can do extra, okay, is creating your website, right? Have all the e-portfolio right there. Try to optimize all the online tools that Tanya just recommended as well to the max, okay? Build your brand. And when I say be extra, maybe something that you can do extra is like after the job interviews, instead of you cannot like handing the thank you card anymore, maybe you can record a thank you video of yourself and send it back to the interviewer as something extra, because you need to be much better than other candidates during this competitive job searching time.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Excellent, excellent. Thank you, ladies. Once again, to the participants, I hope you're taking notes. Occupational Outlook, correct? That it gives information about salaries, different trends that are going on in the industry. Also research the industry. Some of individuals may have to actually consider a career transition, because maybe your industry is no longer viable because of the pandemic.
Right.
So consider all options, but as Tanya said, don't be so eager to take anything just because that will result in, that's a whole nother webinar,
Yeah.
fatigue, anxiety, depression. And we're already experiencing some of those things just because we are simply the current status of the country due to the pandemic. So just be very, very diligent. If there's any home buyers out here or on here, or anyone who has purchased a new car, you did research. This is your career.
Right.
This is your livelihood. Incorporate that same level of expertise and dedication to your job search as you would for anyone else, okay? Or any of the other major purchase in your life, because this is, in some sense, an emotional buy, because this definitely lends
Right.
to the credibility of your livelihood. So let's just be mindful of how we're going moving forward. So any other last minute comments, Quan or Tanya?
Quan mentioned about a personal web page. I want people to be aware that that's not, a personal web page should complement your resume and your history. It's not, so don't think of it as a product or service resume. I mean, it has a totally different design, and it really markets and represents you. So if you're not aware or abreast of what that is or what it looks like, please get some professional help. Get a professional to help you with that before, creating that website, because it could do more damage than good.
Absolutely, I agree. So we're talking about, once again, how individuals can prepare themselves in the job search and recruitment process. So here's an interesting statistic I found. What's the most effective way to job hunt now? Discuss how a job seeker can best utilize their network to secure employment opportunities. So networking has been and still is the best way to land a job. According to Career Pivot, referrals have a 50% chance of getting the interview, whereas others, they're probably just filed. There's no connections, there's no reference. So if and also 70% of jobs are never advertised. So they weren't advertised and you don't have a referral, probably what's going to happen if you submit your resume. And that's just submitting your resume through the tracker or any other type of system. So can we talk about what's the most effective way that these job seekers or soon-to-be graduates can utilize their network?
Sure, I'll go ahead and jump in. And that's just it. Utilize your network. And I can speak to this because this was always an area that I was less comfortable. And just because I always felt like I don't want to bother people and everybody's busy and they have their own lives and issues and stuff that they're working on. They don't have time for me. But I think just a quick email or a quick inbox message just to touch base and, just put out there what's going on with you, what you're looking for, and, putting forth doing your due diligence. People appreciate that. And then oftentimes people come across things, and just because you put it out there, what you're doing, what you're looking for, you'll come to mind. You'll be on the front of people's minds, and then utilize those networking platforms. LinkedIn. Oh my goodness. I am very guilty of being one of those people who in the past, I was not utilizing LinkedIn to benefit me as much as it can. I have since been utilizing it, and I mean increasing your contacts and connecting with people, different kinds of people. And all the information that you're fed out there is like, I almost don't even want to watch the news because you can get fed much more viable information with LinkedIn. And so to utilize that platform, the network, and these can be with networking with people that you know or people that you don't know. So that's a really good thing. People in your direct circle, start in your family and the people in your family have jobs and they're connected to company and they're connected to people, and it just gets broader and wider. And so take advantage of that without overwhelming. Set up some informational interviews. And with that, it's literally Can we talk? Can we have a Zoom call? I just want to bounce some questions off of you. You are where I'm trying to go, and I would love to just, let you know what my plan is. You can kind of tell me if I'm, going in the right direction or not. So you can set up some of those, and again, it could be with someone that you know or someone that you don't know. So don't be afraid to step out and just contact, someone at a company that's in the role. If you're looking to get into HR, you want to be director of HR, you want to head up the 401k planning department, talk with someone who has done that, and network with people, talk with people, get engaged with people, register for things like this, webinars and other opportunities where you can meet other people that are in the same position or place as you and are looking to find solutions and rectify their situation just as you are. But network, talk, get out there, put yourself out there. That is the biggest thing right now, or one of the biggest. Quan, did you have anything you wanted to add?
Oh, great, valuable advice, Tanya. And I would like to emphasize on the last one, attend virtual webinars. You don't know how valuable it's going to be. Like one of my students, the most recent case, like 2 weeks ago, she connected with one of the speakers, and he is the CEO of one tech firms in financial services. And he offered her a job through that connection. So she reached
Wow.
out to him at the end of the webinar, showed her interest in his background in the company and presented her career profile to him, very confident. And it's a good match. You see,
It
she tapped into a hidden job market without applying for jobs. And that job has not even advertised online at all. Because the CEO met with her, she represents herself, very confident about what she has, be able to put on the table for him, is amazing. So that opportunity can comes from anywhere, right? And I just want to also talk about a little bit about informational interviews and asking for referrals. Like normally when students jump into an informational interviews, we all think that this is the opportunity to ask for job referrals, but actually it's not like that. When you meet with someone for the first time, try to take it slow. Okay, you don't have to rush into trying to get something from them. Please get
right.
to know them first before asking something in return. Instead of asking for something in return, think about the things that you can help them with, the value
Yes.
that you can put for that person, offer to that person. So that is the mindset for networking that I would like to emphasize on. And you can read more, my blogs on informational interview. And yesterday I just launched one on the 3 steps to getting job referrals. Go to icoa.com/blog and you will see those blog in there. Okay. Hope you like it. And if you have any questions, you can always connect with me and ask questions as well.
Thank you, Tanya. Thank you, Juan.
Yes.
And that just speaks to what I suggested earlier, that jobs aren't even being posted. Some of these opportunities are coming simply because of who you know. And this is the economy is not your skill set. It's really who's in your base, who's in your network, and who knows who. So I encourage you, if you don't have a LinkedIn, please get a LinkedIn account. Two, start making a list. Start making a list of who you know, family, friends. Start researching people who are the heavy hitters in their industry, your desired industry, and figure out some way how to connect. LinkedIn has this great feature that if you go to a particular company that you're interested in working for, it will tell you who in your network is connected to that company.
Yeah.
Utilize those people. Trust me, we all want to help each other at this point in time. And so don't be afraid to send an email, text message if you're millennial, smoke signals, I don't care. Just get in contact with these individuals, some shape, form, or fashion, so that you can start creating these relationships. And as Quan said, it's not a quid pro quo. You do something for me, I want you to really take the time to get to know this person and what makes him or her use the word tick. But what is it? How can you use this connection for some individuals who are part of different organizations? If you're part of the Divine Nine, the Greek and fraternities and sororities, if you are affiliated with a particular cause, if you've done volunteer work in the past, you know, reconnect and reignite those connections, because that, based on the research, that's how some of these opportunities are going to start coming about. So I implore all of you to please, please, please leave no stone unturned. Just get creative and imaginative. What do we have to lose? We're in COVID, right? So let's just utilize all sources and different techniques. Can you both talk to the participants about the significance of cover letters and how we incorporate that into the networking and the resume, and why that is important?
Well, okay, I can start with that. I would say, first of all, we need to have that master career brand, right? We need to know our brand first. So even before developing that cover letter, you need to know your goal. What is your goal? And then you develop that resume to respond to that goal, to that target job that you need. Then what's the cover letters for? The cover letter will help you tell your stories that you cannot put into that resume, because resume in America, it has to be one page. Well, my mistake when I came here first year, I used my resume in Thailand and we got the picture up there and there are like 3 or 4 pages, and it's not practical here in the US. So try to minimize all the content and make very concise in that one page resume. But then cover letter will help you tell your story more, right? Your compelling stories, why you are interested in applying in this job. What is your career aspiration? All those things that you cannot put into that resume. And one more thing that I really love, the first paragraph, instead of coming to upfront to the coming to with the standard descriptive cover letter that you can find on the template out there, try to make it unique, because first paragraph is something to hook the audience, right? Something to hook the reader. Try to build something that is a hook for you. I would say share your passion, why this company. Let them know in that first 2 sentences why you apply for the job in this company. What is your personal admiration? What is your personal passion for that? So that is my recommendation for now. And I would love to hear more from Tanya because she's an expert in cover letter.
Absolutely. And I almost talk about resumes and cover letters synonymously, because oftentimes, and particularly during COVID season, we're being asked for resumes, cover letters to accompany the resume. Let me just say this about the resume, the cover letter first. You should have a cover letter, at least a base, because if you're actually doing an effective job search for job seekers, if it doesn't feel like a full-time job, you're probably not doing it right. And this is for somebody who does not have a job. So for somebody who, it doesn't matter if you have a job or not, you should have at least a base of a cover letter so that you can contour it for each position that you apply for, or customize it. And I recommend that customization for both the cover letter and the resume. And to piggyback off of Quan, you should personalize your letter. You should make it sound like you, from you. When I work with my clients, we've never used a template. We just speak from, I take their voice and help them to put together a cover letter. But most importantly, especially during COVID, and I'm going to keep pressing that because that's what this webinar is about, how to be effective in your job search and more successful during the COVID season, but also beyond. So particularly during COVID season, your cover letter should speak to how you can be a revenue generator. So not just that you see the position and you can do it and you bring all these cool skills, but companies are still struggling to try and thrive and figure out how to continue to move forward and continue to be successful despite COVID season. So your cover letter should speak a little bit about that. How can you help with that? In addition to talking about that specific company and why you admire their mission and why you want to work there. Particularly with the resumes, COVID season or not, recruiters have seconds to review a resume. And that is if the applicant tracking system that you've uploaded your resume to actually allows your resume to get to a human. Once it has gotten to a human, for an average company, or a recruiter may have 250 resumes for one position, and companies like Google and Apple and Amazon, they may get 1,000 resumes. So you have a few seconds to make a significant impact. So your resume needs to speak to what you're trying to do, what you're trying to bring, and what you're trying to get out of the relationship with the company. So things like making sure it's error-free. Error-free. It needs to be error-free. You do not take the time to put your best energy into your resume. Make sure it's proofread. Make sure you have your I's dotted and your T's crossed. If you don't take the time to invest in yourself like that, then employers won't feel as obligated to take the time to invest in you either. Also, you want to have relevant, updated information on your resume. So if you're looking for a job in banking and you've come from retail, talk about relevant transferable skills and duties that you, and this is on the resume, highlight, this is where the customization comes in, not just one resume that goes out to 100 employers. So it needs to fit the job description, including keywords and concepts, keywords and phrases from the resume. That is what the applicant tracking system reads and tells a human, this is a viable resume. You should check this one out. So if you don't have those keywords from the job description, nothing about your resume is going to tell that computerized system to give your resume a chance to get through and get to a human. So take the time to put in the information that will help your resume to be flagged, like switching from an objective to a summary. Objective is kind of outdated, a little old-fashioned, same as references available upon request. Some things are old millennium, old job search strategies that won't open new doors. So have a summary that, again, capitalizes on what you bring and gives you another leg up. That goes right along with that awesome cover letter that you're going to put together with your story, and then a really nice professional resume. So all of these pieces together represent you with your website and your LinkedIn page, because employers look at all of that. But one final thing I want to say is, no matter what you do, be sure to follow all application instructions. So if they request a cover letter, you must include a cover letter, or you'll get rejected right away for either not following instructions, which comes off as incompetent, or just not sending the letter, which comes off as lazy. And neither one of those are good. So we just want to make sure that our resume and cover letter represent who we are and what we're trying to sell to the company, because that's what we're doing. We're selling ourselves. You market and you sell yourself. So those pieces need to represent you.
Excellent. Thank you, Tanya. Kwan?
Okay, so if it comes to resume, one thing that I would like to add would be the 6-second rule, right? I'm not sure if you heard about the statistics that recruiters normally spend time to read each resume. So if you apply online, make sure that within 6 seconds, people can tell you right away what kind of career brand you have, what kind of job you're applying for, what are your strengths. And Tanya pointed out a very great piece of information here. ATS. You need to really pass through that ATS as well with keyword optimization, keyword optimized resumes. So learn a lot from the job description, at least hit, all some of the keywords that you can put into your compelling stories. And like let's say, if you have 5 job past experience before, let's say, if not all of them relevant to your new target job, you don't have to put all of them. Try to choose the one that is the most relevant to your target job, because you need to help recruiters save time and energy in identifying if you are the right fit candidate for that job or not.
Excellent,
Absolutely.
excellent. Thank you, ladies. So a couple points, Tanya. You mentioned the ATS. So for individuals that don't know, what is it's the automatic tracking system?
The,
So
the
correct
right,
me.
the applicant tracking system.
Excuse me, I was close. The applicant tracking system. So um,
And it's automatic as well.
it is. Thank you, thank you,
Yeah,
thank you.
it is.
So I have a question, more a rhetorical question to pose to our attendees. So would you much rather send a text message, a blind email, or some type of connection to someone, virtually a stranger on LinkedIn, and begin to establish a relationship that could lead into employment opportunity in the future? Or would you just rather take a chance and hope and pray that your resume and that your cover letter includes the correct words just to get through this automated system, and that you still might not even get to a real person? So just think about that.
Great
Just think
point.
about that. That could definitely be the difference between, you know, being employed, switching careers, you know, just think about the time and effort that it would take. Because if you create this amazing cover letter, resume, and it just isn't going to meet the basic criteria of some automatic artificial intelligence is real, then why why would we do that when you just take a couple of minutes to craft some quick little note? Hey, Mr. So and so, you know, my name is XYZ. I'm a student at BAU, or I'm doing this. I'd like to set up a schedule information interview with you to learn more about this industry. Trust me, I will much rather just have somebody tell me no, or I don't have the opportunity to help you, but let me refer you to someone else. And that has happened when I put together these different panel discussions. I can't stress, just sometimes think outside the box, just do something, you know, different. Okay, I'm done. I'm getting off soapbox. Tanya, you also mentioned resumes, and we won't go into this in depth. Once again, you guys are experts. Tanya and Quan, please put your information in the chat so that individuals can find you. Oh, and everyone, they're on LinkedIn. So am I. We have 3 people. If you don't have anybody on LinkedIn, you have us. So please send us a request on LinkedIn. Tanya, you made a comment about resumes. So once again, I don't want us to, you know, do a deep dive. There are different type of resumes. There's chronological, there's functional, there's one pagers. And my question is, are different formats of resumes necessary depending on the industry or the person's work history? Can you speak to that?
Um, no,
I'm sorry if that's a loaded question.
no, it's not. It's not. It's a good question. It's a really
Okay.
good question, but it's based on different factors, I would say. So, let's say, for instance, a person is looking to transition from one industry to another, or is some other circumstance that goes along with their job search, like somebody who's been off work or something like that. So you may, because you, these days, the current trend is to keep about 10 years of employment on your resume. So let's just say I actually had a client who had some engineering experience that was older than 10 years. And so what I did was I crafted him a combination resume, which is, it talks about the types of industries and the specific roles that he had. And then, so chronological deals with the dates, and functional talks about what did you actually do. So it doesn't, I shouldn't say it doesn't matter about the dates, but the focus is on actually what did you do? What did you know? And so it is, it's relevant. The type of resume that should be utilized, or the format, is relevant to each individual situation and what works best for what they're trying to do, what their goal is. So that's one of the first things I ask my resume clients is, why do you want a resume? Are you getting a resume updated? Are you looking? Are you out of work? Are you looking to look for a new job, or change your job? Or, you know, I kind of need the reasoning behind it so I can build the strongest resume for them. So it's no one way or another, best time or another. It just depends on so many factors. But you know, as we come up on the person and what they're looking for, then we can decide what type of resume to put together for them.
Excellent,
So,
thank you.
you know, you guys wouldn't have to worry about that. if you're working with Quan or me or any other resume expert, we'll help you figure that part out, what's best. We'll make a suggestion. You can go with what we suggest or go with what you feel and what you know, and we'll still put, you know, the best resume together as possible.
Excellent. Thank you, Tanya. Kwan, do you have any comments?
Yeah, I just want to emphasize what Tanya just mentioned. You know, having a career goal is so important when building out the resume because resume, LinkedIn, e-portfolio, everything is your brand. And when you think about a brand, right, you like, let's say a product on the shelf, when someone look at your package, they need to know right away what you are, what you can bring, right? So that
Yeah,
is similar to a resume, cover letter, and e-portfolio. You are the product in the market.
absolutely.
Excellent. Absolutely. You're absolutely correct. So we talked about resume, we talked about cover letters. Let's move
I
on.
just want to add one other
Please.
comment about the application process. We talked about networking, and I just want to tag onto that employers actually prefer not to go through all the steps of traditional vetting and finding candidates if they can get a referral. You know, if they can get referrals from people who already work at the company or somebody who used to work at the company. Which probably speaks to that 50% chance of getting an interview because it's a matter of trust. It's trust between those, you know, those entities. And, oh, okay, so Gina recommended LaTanya for, you know, this office management position. Let's see what, you know, let me take the time. And then the resume goes directly to the connect. And so it's so many benefits in networking and just, making sure to connect with the people that can connect you with the people that you need to get to. So I really encourage networking because referrals are appreciated and it just moves the process along faster for everybody.
Absolutely. I definitely agree. So let me say right now that I am recommending Kwan and Tanya for any of your any assistance that you may need regarding resume, cover letters, or just someone to help you guide on the career. These are two knowledgeable individuals. I would work with them, so please don't be shy. So we talked about the resume, we talked about the cover letter and the package, as you said, Kwan, and basically those are your marketing tools. That's just what gets you, you know, on the playing field, if you will. So for my car enthusiasts, you can see something that looks amazing, you know, be a BMW, Mercedes, and then you drive it and it just doesn't feel right. Something, the suspension, tail, whatever. Same thing. Once that package is submitted, you know, how do you stand out? Once your goal is to get to the interview. How do you get to the interview? Once you get the interview, how do you stand out? What all the other candidates that they may have to, you know, that they may be interviewing. So how is it that, you know, you're going to perform a little different than the previous person or the person coming after you? You know, because of COVID, we don't have the luxury of going to an interview, to a physical building, and you're sitting there in the waiting room and you see your competition, if you will, he or she walk out and you're like, I got that, like whatever. So we don't have it. We don't know who because everything is virtual. So let's talk about how do you stand out during interviews, and what are your recommendations on how candidates can stand out during this interview process?
Mhm. Yes, I can kickstart if that's
Okay.
okay. Yes. So you're so right, Gina. Like we lost that human interaction, right? That we normally get during the in-person interview. And that
Right.
is one of the top challenges that one of my students asked me when the pandemic hit and everything locked down. And he lived in San Francisco and is the first city that got locked down. But now he's working at Amazon. So, well, first of all, like he felt like, how can I read cues? You know, like I don't see the reaction from the other person. I cannot really see their face if they really like my answer or no. There's no cues that I can read from that in-person
Right.
benefit. But then there are some other benefits from that virtual interview as well. You can have your cheat sheet right next to you. Like right now, I also have another big screen right here next to me, right? As a cheat sheet. You can do the same with your
Yeah.
virtual interviews. Right, right. Dress, you know, like very professionally, but you don't have to care about something below your waist, right? But and anyway, the top here needs to look super professional. And well, we all millennials right now. I'm sure that all the students are here are like millennial, Gen Z. So you are very familiar with YouTuber, right? People that do YouTube, you do the same thing. Set up a very professional background, like you are a YouTuber. Make sure that you check your internet connection that is very consistent. It is very fast. You can just go to Google and type in internet speed test, and it will shows if your internet speed is fast enough. So that is just a basic thing for virtual interview. But then if you ask me how can you stand out, well, there are so many things, right? But one of the things that I always tell my students to do is to think of yourself as a consultant, because when there is a job there is a problem. But if you just position yourself, sorry, position yourself as a job seeker, just being there to answer the question, that is not enough. You have to be there to create a conversation, investigate your employer's needs, really like understand what they really need, and then customize your answer to fulfill those needs, like a consultant providing advice to their clients. So that is my quick recommendation for you to stand out during the virtual interviews. Tanya, do you have anything to add from here?
Yes. Um, there are good ways and bad ways to stand out. But so let me touch on some of the things that we should focus on so that we stand out and it's not in a bad way. So um, Quan talked about your internet connection and things like that, but make sure that your background, she talked about the dress code, but make sure your background, like before we had this call, I sat in front of the camera and looked to see what was behind me. And so I had a jacket hanging over here and a big flower sitting over there. So just kind of make your background so that it's not distracting, okay? So that the people are paying attention to what you're saying and what you're bringing, and not, what's going on in the background of the space that you're in. And then by the time you have an interview scheduled, let's just say the traditional way that happens, you apply for the position, sent your resume and a cover letter if they requested it. So a way to stand out is to capitalize on what you talked about in your cover letter, and then that's an opportunity to even talk that up more. So I would say, again, I don't know if I mentioned this already, but talk about generating revenue and results, results that you've gotten in the past, and projects or something that you've worked on that you produce results, usable results that benefit the company, and how in this pandemic and even beyond, because think about whatever you bring to a company now, don't just think about it working during the pandemic, because we're all hopeful that 2021 is going to be better to us and for us. And so we won't have to live as if we're living in a pandemic forever. So whatever that you bring to the table, will it still be viable to use after the pandemic? And it can be, it may be, but it may not be. So you want to think ahead and kind of think about a plan B and a plan C and how you can continue to propel the company forward. But to stand out, a good way to stand out post-interview is to remind the person when you send your note or create your video, like what Quan suggested. If you send a note, to remind them of something specific that you talked about in your interview, something specific to you. So Gina mentioned earlier, oh, it's raining here and it's kind of, so maybe you get to the, you talked about the weather, how it makes you feel, the rain reminds you of the earth being just, getting what it needs, the nutrients from the rain, just something to speak to you specifically. Because sometimes they'll interview 20 people, you just never know for different things. And so just to kind of make your interview and make you stand out and remind them of who you are, and always in the conversation with what you can bring and how excited and motivated you are. Sound and look motivate. You really have to look it now, because the video interviewing has taken over. But you need to sound and look, interview, and be excited and be genuine, because it's easy to pick up when you're not. Speak to what you know, and don't try to drag on about things that you don't know. Just stick to what you know, what you have. Be confident in who you are and what you bring, and sell that. That is what they want. Okay.
Thank you, Tanya.
So
And Quan, thank you. Couple things, Tanya. Uh, don't try to be someone you're not. Ladies and gentlemen, be your authentic self. If there's something you don't know, I don't know. They will appreciate that. And it could be a teachable moment because they will sense your enthusiasm, like, I have no clue or idea, but I'm willing to learn. That will probably advance you much quicker than sitting there, as they refer to, saving face, because you really just don't know. Two, practice, practice. Although we're in this virtual world, practice with family, friends. Use your phone, practice, check your cadence, check and see if you have any ums. If you're there's so many things. I mean, there are things on YouTube. Watch your favorite commentator podcast and see how they find someone that you can model yourself after, just in terms of your speech and your diction. Practice, practice, practice. And last, you mentioned, Tanya, about connecting with people so that you have staying power. So I live in Washington, D.C. It's fall. It's the football season. I am a Dallas Cowboy fan. So if I were to interview with someone during this time, and I know they're a Redskin fan, that's going to create, like, I usually say, hey, this is Gina Rupert, your favorite Cowboy fan, ha ha. But find something to connect with that individual, be it humorous or not. Now, some Redskin fans are really, they're die hard, and I'm great. But Quan and Tanya are both in Chicago. Maybe they're Bears fans, maybe they're Cubs fans, maybe they're not. Who knows? Find something personal that you can reference that you and that person talked about in that conversation. I can assure you that will automatically, oh yes, I forgot the person's name, but I remember this conversation. So that's my 2 cents. Anything else? Any other comments, Quan, Tanya, before we move on?
great. That was great.
Okay.
This is a great summary.
Okay, great. Let's see here. And let's talk about our takeaways. Ladies and gentlemen, we're just trying to get through our takeaways. This is why you're here today, and then we will wrap up with any of your questions and comments. Following up with employers. This is a pain point for so many people, so many people. What are the challenges of people not following up with employers after an interview? Why is it important? Why do people not do it? Just speak to that, and let's just give this some intel.
I'll go ahead and jump in real quick. To follow up, first of all, it shows appreciation for them taking the time to meet with you. It speaks to your personality. It speaks to you just reaching out and putting that extra effort in. That's part of your due diligence, to just thank, even those informational interviews that we mentioned earlier. You should thank the person for spending the time with you. And even in that, to make sure that you speak about something specifically that you appreciated about meeting with you, and just capitalize on your motivation and your enthusiasm to land that position. And so I've actually, at a point where I was making a decision between a couple different candidates, one person specifically knocked themselves out of the running because of that, because I'm trying to narrow down who to contact. It's only one position, it's 3 people. There's a couple other things, but I really appreciated that the people who took the time to just say thank you so much. And I know this, you got a lot going on, meeting with a lot of people, and so I appreciate you spending some time with me. And I think that should be done same day, but definitely within a 24-hour period. And I also think that you should follow up with everybody that you met with. So if you met with Gina and Latanya and Quan, each person should get a follow-up, a different follow-up. You don't want to send all 3 of us the same note, and then we happen to realize that. Like, put the energy into it. Following up also reminds the people who you are and how you stand out. We talked about standing out in that interview. So that last ditch effort to follow up and just put you on the front of their mind, that's a good time to do that after the interview. That is for your benefit. That is part of the process, and it should be done. But also part of follow-up is, be prepared for a follow-up interview. You may have one, you may have 3 interviews. I don't know. It just depends on, it may be 1 phone interview, 2 Zoom interviews. Just be prepared just in case there is a follow-up interview, and that can happen virtually. If that happens, go back, research your contacts again, because if Quan says, we had an excellent interview, we'd like for you to, can you meet with us again on Wednesday? We'd like for you to meet Gina this time. So now you're gonna research Gina. Who is she, and what does she do in the company? So you know a little bit, but still prepare questions to ask, dress for the occasion. All the things that you did originally to set up is what you do if you have a follow-up. Following up, I don't know if we want to go into follow-up being part of job retention, what to do, what not to do. Am I jumping ahead, or do you want me to keep going?
You have the floor.
So I also think a part of follow-up is job retention. So we talked a lot about getting the job, what to do, how to search for, how to research, and networking and contact. But once you land the job, now you need to have job retention in mind and increasing your value over time. So follow-up includes being more valuable in the next year or in 3 years or 5 years than you are today. So that is still, to me, following up. And with that, do your job. Just do your job and do a good job. No matter what everybody else is doing or who else is slacking off, do your best to represent you and who you are. And then see about additional training and development. Shadow somebody if you can. You can shadow somebody before you get the job. I actually recommend that. Volunteering and shadowing are 2 things that I recommend, whether you have a job or not. Always, always, always have questions. Ask questions. Don't just go to the interview looking to be drilled with questions and you have to pour out all this information. But you should have questions too that reflect your energy and your effort and your true motivations for wanting to come and work at this company. Keep your resume updated. I think people should look at their resumes quarterly, all year, because you'll just be working and working and you don't realize you're doing things that were not a part of your job description. And I'm not saying don't do that. Do things that add to who you are, but keep your resume updated because you'll lose track of those things. And then look for opportunities to learn something new. So in following up, you follow up with your interview, you follow up with a thank you note, and then you prepare in case you have a follow-up interview. If you get the job, your follow-up is now job retention. Some follow-up includes some things to say no to. Say no to office gossip, clicks, negativity. Bring positive energy, share your knowledge, own your mistakes and learn from them, and then remain teachable. All of this is following up. Follow up to get the job, to keep the job, to become more valuable, stronger, wiser, and better over time, which will kind of propel you into the next segment of maximizing or creating your next job employment opportunity, which we can talk about in a second. I just wanted to see if Quan had anything she wanted to add to following up with employers.
I can add something very quick right here, Tanya, because you have covered so many great tips there. I would say, after you follow Tanya's strategy to follow up, well, you did your best, right? If it happened that you don't get that job offer from multiple rounds of interview, what can you do? Are you gonna just stop, connecting with that interviewer? You guys already have built some rapport through those job interviews. So I truly recommend that keep that connection as your networking opportunity as well. You can always keep in touch with your employers. Even though you don't get a job offer, they like you enough to invite you for the job interviews, like you enough to invite you to the final job interviews. But for some reason, it didn't work out. It's not the end of the day. You can always keep that connection. That's my quick recommendation. And I know that we are on top of the hour right now. I'm not sure if any students got any questions, any urgent questions that we can answer.
Any questions? And Kwan and Tanya, thank you both for you summarized that very eloquently. Great ideas, great strategies for individuals to follow. Are there any questions, any comments at this point in time?
I want
You have,
to add one other comment to
please,
follow
please.
behind Quan. If you don't get the position and just keeping that connection, you know, it's not actually a bad thing to reach out to the interview contact and ask if there's something you could have done differently, you know, and that'll help you with your next interview. So some people may tell you they don't have to, and you know, so if they don't choose to tell you, it's probably either they just don't want to engage that way, or oftentimes it's just things that they want to stay away from. So if they felt like you was just a bad choice, you know, on paper it was one thing, you get into the office and they decided you were a bad choice for whatever reason, they may not want to get into that. But they may just say you just didn't, you know, you didn't seem, you know, motivated, or I don't know if you were having a bad day, but we couldn't understand your responses. You were kind of rambling. I mean, they may help you, you know, give you a response in a way that helps you with your next interview. So I don't think that's a bad thing to keep that connection and keep you on the forefront of somebody's mind if another opportunity comes up.
I would definitely agree. And if I may jump in real quick, when you have your interviews, keep your notes. I specifically remember I graduated from grad school, had an interview, something happened, the position came available, got called back. A few months later, I showed up with the notes from the original interview, and that's why I got the position. The campus director was very impressed. He's like, those are the notes from our first meeting. So absolutely. I was able to reference previous conversation. So anything, once again, I probably would categorize it, how do you stand out during an interview? Anything you can do to create staying power with your potential employer. And sometimes, to Tanya's point, maybe it's between you and another candidate and they go with the other person and maybe they realize that was the bad hire. Guess who they're probably going to come back to, provided you're still, you know, in the employment, you know, in employment, seeking employment. So just always being optimistic and always put your best foot forward. And sometimes, and just as you are interviewing for positions, ladies and gentlemen, please know that you're interviewing that company too, interviewing their leadership, interviewing, you know, what their vision, their mission. So it looks like it's a good fit, but once again, once you start talking to people, and if you go through different rounds of interviews, you're like, this really isn't a good fit. At this point in time, you're just there for target practice, and that's okay. Any opportunity you can to increase and become better at this interviewing process and game, then that is a benefit. Don't walk away like, oh, I didn't get it, or I don't want to. Just use it for what it is, and I can assure you that something will definitely present itself. Kwan, do you have any comments? Because like I said, we are on an hour. So Kwan, I'll go to you for any final comments.
I can share something very quick, you know, as a key takeaway here, because this time of job searching is even tougher than before. And I'm sure that we have a lot of international students joining this call as well. For your case, it's even going to be tougher, right? Unemployment rate climbs up. Job posting is half off right now. Like we are in the in the history, like a recession right now. And for you, your case, not all employers willing to sponsor international students. I want you to have this mindset in mind, okay? Nothing great ever comes that easy, and nothing great stay in your comfort zone. So you need to get out of your comfort zone and do something extra in order to get this amazing job during this pandemic. If you don't have enough skills and experience in the past, what you can do right now is to volunteer. Okay, volunteer for the job that you can build skills, build your resume. But if you have already got some great, skills and experience, you can find coach, you can find mentors, go out, network, let the world knows about you. Okay, don't stay inside your comfort zone. Let's get out of your comfort zone today. That's my recommendation.
I love it. I love it. Tanya, any final comments, closing remarks for our attendees today?
I would just like everyone to be encouraged, stay encouraged. Job searching in this pandemic is a challenge for everyone. So just stay encouraged. You only need one yes. Even if you get 1,000 no's before that, you only need one yes. And then take that and just know that you're in a good place and you've learned from your entire experience. Know that a resume can be drafted from experience, not just work experience, but total experience, life experience. And if you need help with that, I've added my email address into the chat. You can email me at empowercareers1@gmail.com if you need help drafting a resume, drafting a cover letter, or mock interview help. But stay encouraged.
Absolutely. Well, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for attending. I truly, sincerely hope that you have got something out of this. It's a lot to condense in an hour and 15 minutes because there are so many. Actually, we can literally break down a resume into an hour long session. But we want to give you something just to think about. Once again, thank you. This has been recorded. Please reach out to Quan, Tanya, with any questions or comments. And just thank you for those of you who are graduating from Bay Atlantic. I wish you the best of luck. Congratulations. For those of you who are on the coming up, please stay focused, stay true to yourself, stay encouraged, and have a great weekend, everyone. And once again, thank you so much for making us a very, very, very successful call. Take care, everyone. And thanks again to Quan and Tanya. Give it up for them. You guys were amazing. Yay!
Thank you so much, Gina. Thank you, Tanya. Such an honor to be here.
Thank you.
Stay safe, everyone.
Thank you, everyone.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.